Hi class, Miss Leader here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to get started with your bobblehead construction. You will need all of the tools that you see here. So you're going to need your bag of clay. In your bag, you're going to have a large piece. This is going to be for your bobblehead. And then this small piece is going to be for any attachments that you make to your bobblehead. You will need a cup, a pinch pot filled with slip. Remember, slip is watered down clay, so you're going to be able to get this on the counter underneath the blue bulletin board. You will also need a paintbrush for the slip. You will need a comb. You'll need a tool of some kind to cut things, so there's butter knives in the yellow cup on the counter underneath the blue bulletin board. And then you'll also need a cup with a sponge and some water. The water and the sponge is on the back counter next to the back sink. So once you have all of your tools assembled, then you can get started on building your bobblehead. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to open your bag and take out the large piece of clay. Now remember, when we start working with clay, the first thing we're going to do is wedge the clay. So remember, wedging is where we cup our hands and we kind of smack the clay back and forth in between our palms to compress the clay. So once you've done this several times, remember it should kind of sting, then you're going to roll the ball of clay until you have a nice sphere, a nice ball. Once you get your ball made, then you're going to take your thumb and start your pinch pot. Put that right in the center of your pinch pot, and then remember you're going to use duck hand and you're going to pinch the walls of your pinch pot. Every single time you pinch, you should rotate the pot to make sure it's going to stay the same thickness all the way around. Remember, you are looking for the chubby spots. You're looking for where it's thicker in some spots than in others. So if I look at the top here, I can see over here I have the right thickness, and over here I'm too thick. So I know that I need to still pinch that out and make sure that everything is even. Now the bottom is quite heavy still, so I'm going to take my thumb and drag that up against my palm. Remember, counter pressure, so you should never set this down on the table while you are working with this. Make sure that you keep it nice and round, because this is going to be our bobble's head, the actual part that bobbles. So we don't want this to become flat. Instead, we want it to be able to bobble on something. So keep it in your hand and make sure you don't set that down. So again, I'm going around the surface and I'm checking for any chubby spots. So I'm feeling carefully with my hands to make sure that I've gotten all of those spots and smooth them out. Now, once I know that I have my pinch pot even, I'm going to then flip it upside down on my table. It can rest upside down like this on the lip, but not on the top, because we want this to stay round. Then remember, with water, you're going to get a sponge. You're going to wring it out entirely. Open your hand and squeeze it again. Get all of that water off. Then you're going to do the same thing we did with your small pinch pots, and you're going to heal all of your cracks. So see, I have a big one there. I need to use my finger with a little bit of water to heal that together. Then I'm going to use a sponge and go over the surface and find all of those cracks and make sure that they disappear completely. Oops, sorry. Make sure you can see me doing that. Once you have all of your cracks smoothed, you don't have any left, and you have your shape correct, then you are going to start to add your additions or the designs for your bobbleheads. So remember, you should have all of the details that you drew in your drawing. So you should have eyes, ears, mouth, nose, hair, mane, horns, any of those things that you said your animal or monster is going to have. So now I'm all smoothed out and I can go ahead and start adding those things. So a couple of tips for you. If I want to make something like eyeballs, I can start simply by rolling one ball of clay and then chopping that ball of clay in half. That way I'm going to have two pieces that are the same size for my eye. I can keep them like this and use some big bulgy eyes. I can play with the shape and make them rounder, or I can make them look like an actual eye. It really depends on your design. So maybe I want my eyes to look like this. Maybe I'm doing a leopard, and it has some pretty eyes like this. So I'm going to make sure those are the same See, if you have the same piece of clay, then you get the same size things. Now, every time you put clay to clay, you have to slip and score. So scoring is scratch marks. It's made on both sides of the clay and stuck together. You can think of scoring like Velcro. Velcro has a hoop and it has a hook. So the hook goes through the loop and it holds together like this. So if you think about it, you're going to have a loop on one side and a hook on the other. So scratch marks on both sides where those can hook together. So you're going to use the comb for this part. So if I want my eyes right here on my face, I'm going to comb really, really deep so that I can see those marks. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the back side of my eye or whatever piece I'm attaching. Make sure that you can really see those marks. Then you're going to use your slip. Slip is watered down clay and acts like glue. So always use a brush, never use your finger because it is an organic material, and if you put your finger in here, it's going to start to smell like sewage water, and we don't want that. Never throw this down the sink. When you're done, put it back on the counter where you found it. So I'm going to put slip on the back side of my eye and slip on the face where that goes. Then remember, we always have to have counter pressure. So one finger is going to go on the inside and then the hand is going to press on the outside and attach that eye. Once I've attached my eye, then I can smooth around and make sure I have no excess score marks. Press from both sides, and then you'll see that that's very, very attached to your creature. You can, of course, take things and press in. So maybe I want to have a pupil right here on my eye, and maybe I want to draw in eyelashes over here. Totally up to you of how you're going to do these things. So one more time for the demonstration. You're going to have score marks on where you're making your attachment, and then score marks on the attachment itself. Nice and deep so that you can see them. This will fall apart if you do not do this step. So every time you connect clay to clay, score and slip. So then I use my brush and I add some slip to the back side and some slip to the face. Then I'm going to pick it up, hand on the inside always for counter pressure, and then I'm going to press my eye into the face. Once I have it pressed down, then I can finish designing it. You can always take a brush with just water on it or with slip, whatever, and you can smooth out details. So maybe it's a little bit craggly right there. Maybe you have cracks you couldn't get rid of. You can always use a brush and it will help with those things. Then I'd add my other detail, and then I'd go on to my nose and mouth and all of those other parts that I'm going to add. So of course this is going to be dependent on what you're making. That kind of looks like a frog now. But make sure you're adding all of your details. Once you have your head done or time is up, you're going to take your creature and put him back in your Ziploc bag. Very carefully. Once it's in your Ziploc bag, you're going to put the rest of your extra clay and make sure it doesn't dry out by closing your bag all the way. Double check that that's closed. Make sure no air is going to get in or out. Then you're going to take this just like this and set it on your shelf, and it will be ready to go for class next time. We'll talk about more details next time, and can't wait to see you guys on Thursday.